What's going on, guys? BriarRabbit here. Over the last 2 weeks or so, we've seen GamerGate. If you've been on Reddit or Twitter or on YouTube, you've heard about GamerGate. And it has been a huge issue. There's been all sorts of hate being thrown around, all sorts of vitriol, even threats on people's lives, all based around this issue. And when you get through all of that, when you get to the core of the issue, what I believe the core of the issue is, can we trust a system where games journalism is so closely tied to the people they cover, the developers, even the manufacturers of the equipment, like the Xbox and the PlayStation 4, and the developers of games like Call of Duty or Destiny? Can we trust that we're getting solid reviews, we're getting real information from our journalism? And it's a real problem. It's a real problem for any enthusiast press. It doesn't matter if you've got a magazine or a website that covers running shoes or cars or whatever. You know, if you got a magazine that covers running shoes, right, and you want to review the latest Nike running shoe, but your biggest advertiser is also Nike, you have to be very careful in that situation. You have a real conflict of interest here. Yes, you want to keep your readers happy because they're buying the magazine, and ultimately nobody's going to advertise with you if nobody's buying the magazine. But if you piss off Nike by giving an honest review of a bad running shoe, then you're going to piss off your advertiser, and it doesn't matter how many people buy your magazine, you're not going to make any money if you don't have advertisers. So video game journalism is very much in that spot, right? The latest Call of Duty comes out, and if the journalist doesn't like this game, let's say the journalist gives it a 7 or a 6, you know, it's not different enough, or whatever the problem with this Call of Duty game is, he just doesn't like it. But that same month, Call of Duty is your biggest advertiser on your website. What do you do there? Do you piss off Call of Duty and Activision and have them never advertise on your site again? That's a big problem for a games journalist. Now, it may not be even the games journalist who is modifying this editorial. It may be that the editor gets this thing, submits it, and then gets pushback saying, no, you can't say all this bad stuff about an Activision game. They're spending $1 million on this website this month. Like, what do you do in that case? So people say that that game journalism used to be much more reliable and have more integrity, and that's not true. It's always been this way with magazines, with websites. It doesn't matter the format. It doesn't matter who the people were. Sure, sometimes you find that a certain specific site will have more integrity or a bigger separation between the advertisement department and the editorial department, and that's really what you need. But if you have too much separation, then you're just basically going to put one side or the other in a really bad spot. If the editorial department is so rogue that the advertisement department can't sell any magazines, they're both going out of business. If the advertisement side has gone rogue and is just accepting every dollar from everybody and editing the editorial department, you're not going to have any readership because nobody trusts your opinion. So then the magazine goes out of business and everybody loses their jobs. So it's a really, really tough problem to solve. And now with kind of these allegations of people actually dating and all of this stuff happening inside this kind of GamerGate conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy, but just a massive cluster of problems. You know, it's really a difficult problem to solve. You can't expect people not to date one another. You know, it doesn't matter what their jobs are. You just have to rely on them to have enough integrity to not let their personal relationships affect their professional, let's say their professional job, right? Their work. And some people are going to be able to do that, and some people aren't. Some people are going to try and do that, and some people aren't even going to bother trying. Some people are going to go ahead and use their position as a games journalist to try and get their friends or their girlfriends, you know, to sell better games, or not to sell better games, but to sell more copies of the game they made, or the controller that they made, or the console that they're involved with. And as a reader, you're not really privy to this information. You don't know who's dating who, and really it's none of your business. Unless you go out and spend $400 or $500 on a console because this guy told you that it was the better console. But then come to find out, well, he's dating one of the people that, you know, works on this console. How are you supposed to feel about that? You know, it's a hard issue. It's a very difficult issue. We as gamers are not privy to the information of, you know, specific relationships. You know, how much money got spent on a website in advertising dollars. Who's dating who. And really, we probably don't care unless we find out that we're getting bad information because people are trying to further their personal agendas, or their friends or their girlfriends' personal agendas, or their website's agenda. You know, their website needs more ad revenue, so they're going to give the next Call of Duty a 9 out of 10 instead of the 7 out of 10 that they actually think it deserves. And then they lose our trust. So it is a very, very difficult issue, and I don't know that it'll ever be solved. You know, as long as we as readers make sure that we keep these people honest by always watching, by being vigilant, then hopefully the magazines and the websites will always have that in mind, that, you know, our readers are smart. They're not going to let us get away with this bullshit. But, you know, they're always going to have that conflict of interest because, you know, that's who they're selling to. They're really selling to the advertisers. They're selling us to their advertisers. They're selling a magazine to us, and then they're selling us to their advertisers. So they have to do both, and they have to be nice to both, and they'll never be free of one or the other. And in that way, it's always going to be an issue. Integrity will always be an issue with journalism. It just is. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hit that like button if you like this video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.